Only if
Yeah.
I remember correctly, you applied to join from literally moment one this program opened, I think January of 2024, even maybe December of 2023, in fact. And you were one of our first clients as well. So could you kind of tell me more about where were you in life? What did you have in your resume? What year were you and what was going on then?
Yeah. So I joined this was around 2023 December. It was my sophomore year. And it was second year into college. Freshman year, I had some friends who had gotten internships at big companies during the freshman year, but wasn't able to land one that year. And a lot of people told me that's fine. It's your freshman year. You don't really have to worry about it. But I knew that sophomore year, I needed to really land something if I wanted to kind of get that traction going to my junior year and then hopefully get a full-time offer by senior year. So the thing was, I had been applying since around, I would say not too early, like June, July of 2023, but definitely like September, maybe late August, September, October. I'd been applying, trying to do like 10, 15 applications a day, whether it was LinkedIn, Handshake, all these random websites, right? But the idea was that progress was really slow. I think I applied to like a couple hundred places, didn't really hear back from them. Sometimes you get OAs, you would try to do them, and then you wouldn't hear back either, even if you did well. So it was a really very dry cycle. And I knew at that point that I needed to change something. And I saw your videos online and you talked about the software engineering accelerator. So I thought, might as well give it a try, see what I can potentially change in my arsenal here and how I can update my approach. So yeah, I joined the accelerator. We started, I think, February, and that was the time I actually got my first Amazon interview request, I think,
Yeah.
after I did the OA. And we
Sorry
did
to
some
interrupt.
preparation. Yeah.
I want to just kind of like focus on specifically like what was your results before day one?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember correctly here in that initial call, you said the phrase 200 applications, zero interviews.
Yeah.
And that was specifically like where I remember things were, which is wild how things have really improved beyond that point. So just to confirm, you
Yeah.
submitted a bunch of applications. It's not like you weren't even trying, right? You submitted
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
100, 200. I think you had an Epic OA,
Was Epic,
or
there's some
something
other
like that, right?
companies. Yeah, it's like a couple hundred applications, and the return rate from them was like very nothing almost. So it was like 300, 400 you hear back from like maybe 10. So
Yeah.
it was really bad, to say
Mhm.
the least. Yeah.
Absolutely. So then you saw
Uh-huh.
my video, then you consider joining the accelerator. Now,
Yeah.
after you joined the program, actually tell me about some of your interviews and offers there. I know, again, this is a while ago because we worked together last year, the year before, January, February of 2024. So tell me, what interviews did you get through the program and what offers did you end up getting last cycle?
Yeah, so like as I was saying, like I was entered the program at the time. I had gotten my Amazon interview, and we were kind of working. I remember first week of the program, we kind of practiced for that, and yeah, I was able to research a lot into Amazon. And the thing is, unfortunately, even though I did not get Amazon that cycle, I learned a lot from the process. How to prepare, whether it's behavioral, technical practice, right? And after that, I got two more interview requests. One was from Boeing, the other one was from Costco, and then later on there was another one called Clean Power, but I'll get into that in a second. But these two ones, I was able to apply kind of what we talked about, all the skills we learned in the program. And I was able to go through these interview processes and ultimately ended up with two offers from Costco IT and then Boeing as well for the software engineering roles. And ultimately, I ended up choosing Costco just because of, I think it was convenience. And I also, the Costco name in the software engineering world is pretty big as well. Boeing's not known as much for their suites, but anyways, yeah, that's what happened there. I also heard back from some career fair companies as well that I attended in winter. So ultimately, there was a big change, a big shift as well, even especially during a period where it was getting really close to the edge there. It was like April when I got the Costco offer. I was kind of scared I wasn't going to get anything, but just continually applying those tricks and everything, all those skills really ended up becoming very successful in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're a case where I tell a lot of people who ask me, is it even possible to get offers this late? Right?
Yeah,
A lot of people are
yeah,
like, it's March, it's April, it's late, it's not going to work out. But then I tell them, hey, I had the student Oleon early on who actually, we worked together. He had 200 applications, not much going on. But after we worked together in March and April, he got multiple offers at name brand companies like Costco and Boeing and a final round interview at Clean Power Research. So those are three great wins, literally late into the cycle. So it's awesome to hear that, even this late last year, March, April, you're able to get two name brand offers from the struggles you had before. So that's a really great result there, even from that initial 2 months in the program.
yeah. And I was going to add that I applied those skills that we learned last year this year, and I got almost 25 interviews this year. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
it's a
Okay.
lot of interviews this year.
Let's
Yeah, it
uh
was
let's
just back
actually
to
talk
back.
about that because last time
Yeah,
we talked was last year once you finished the initial 2 month cohort and then
yeah,
and you were still working, you were still in the community, you'd ask me questions every once
yeah,
in
yeah.
a while, here and there for the past 12 months. But let's actually kick off on that. So what happened after you finished that? You did Costco. You decided
Yeah.
to not do Boeing. Tell me about what happened then.
Yeah, so I ended up doing Costco in the summer. I did try to move Boeing to fall. Unfortunately, like Boeing did not want to move it. They just had their own policies and things. So I was fine. So I did Costco over the summer. And Costco was a good internship. I learned well, I used a lot of JavaScript, SAP. They had their own language called the BAP and everything. But the thing about Costco that I noticed was it's that I learned this in the first few weeks that like Costco is not a software company, right? They're a retail company with a software team. So the experience wasn't, I guess, as technical as I wanted it to be. So I knew this cycle coming up, I really wanted to get like a software engineering internship at a software company as a whole, right? So what happened was this cycle, I knew I had to, not make the same mistakes I did last time. So, what I took a lot of the knowledge that we talked about, when I started the Accelerator, right? Applying early, getting those referrals, finding those connections, getting those direct links into the company versus just cold applying and trying to throw your pebble into this giant well and expecting something happens, right? So I did that. And this past cycle, as I mentioned, I got almost 25 interviews. There was a lot of them were like medium-sized companies. Like I'll shoot some names out here. There's some startups like Cumulo, Headway. I got one from Chewy, the dog food, brand. That was one. I got one from Extra Hop. I got one from Haya, AT&T, Amazon, Arista, Rocked, Clean Power Research again, Meta, F5, Twitch. Yeah, there's a lot of interviews, some big names too. So that's just the names out there. Like I said, although I made it to some final rounds for some of them and got past the first round for some of them. But ultimately, I ended up with two offers this cycle. After doing all that, going through the entire phrase. Again, this was like September all the way to like literally like now March. This was like a long cycle. So all those interviews scattered out throughout the period. But yeah, I ended up with two offers. Got Amazon this summer, and I was able to move my Arista offer to fall. So
Oh,
that actually
wow.
ended. Yeah, I actually just shot them an email a couple days ago, and they said yeah they'd be willing to move it. So it
Wow.
looks like I will say I mean I'm kind of iffy. I'm kind of scared because of the whole economic situation going on with the tariffs and everything. But hopefully, if no one decides to rescind, I got it looks pretty. I'm pretty happy we're at the success for this cycle.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was definitely a big change from last year to
absolutely.
this year.
And that just goes to show, I mean, I didn't know that you had this amazing success. A lot of people are like, hey, like, what if I just try to get that one internship on my own? But what I'm
Yeah,
learning here is like, this is not just a one-off thing, right? This is proof in the pudding, right? That these skills, it's not just one summer, one fall, one spring, whatever, right? You went from,
yeah,
I want you to understand how successful this is for yourself too. Like, this is an amazing arc looking from a third-party perspective. You went from
yeah,
200 applications and next to no interviews. And then within a few months, you got two name brand offers, Costco and Boeing. Then you applied the lessons again and it's exponential. You got 25 interviews the next
yeah,
year at companies like Meta, Amazon, and tons of other amazing companies. And eventually two amazing offers. One at a FANG level company, Amazon, that pays probably 55 plus dollars an hour
yeah,
with a housing stipend, I'm guessing as well. And another
hmm
offer at Arista, which you're able to do in the fall. So
yeah.
honestly, you've gotten four plus offers on your resume in the past 24 months, which is far, far ahead of the vast majority of people. So I guess I kind of want to talk a little bit about what did you think actually helped you do that? Because I'm sure there are people out there who talk to you and you're like, oh, man, how are you doing this? How are you getting so many interviews and offers and stuff like that? So kind of break me down, like, what were those major level ups you had in the past 12 months, which allow you to make that great progress?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for sure is that having a direct link or connection to the company you're applying to is definitely a really big thing, right? A lot of people, I will say, sometimes if you cold apply, if you get lucky on LinkedIn, you're right when the role comes out, you apply right away. You have a good chance of hearing back. But I think that if you have that direct email to the recruiter, you meet them in person, you have a friend that knows somebody on the recruiting team, or even that, an engineer that at a certain position that can refer you, those are the best ways to get your foot in the door. And I think that was definitely a big change I made this cycle. So less cold applying, more. I think all these companies, probably 90% of them were just, I knew people, I knew the recruiter, I met the recruiter, or I knew someone who referred me to these companies. So that was a big change. The second thing I would say is that often a lot of people you like to make these fancy resumes. You don't really try to make it like all these colors, fancy fonts and whatnot, right? I really made sure to double down and fix my resume this year. I use latex and everything and try to make sure it past the ATS scanner. So I made sure I really polished that down. I talked to a lot of resume people at my university, a lot of friends and stuff that also got multiple offers, kind of just to polish my resume down. So that's another big thing, right? Because if your resume is not in the right spot and you're applying to all these places, you probably don't even know if you're getting past the ATS scanner in the first place. So that was another big thing. And the third big thing is I think consistency overall, whether it's you're doing leak code or whether it's you're applying, right? A lot of people, um, I'm not saying you shouldn't focus on school. I think school is very important, but I think that if you really are intent on getting an offer, right, you gotta be very consistent with yourself. I think I listened to this podcast from like Chris Williamson or something. It's one of those, but he talked about if you want something bad enough, you find a way. Otherwise, you just make an excuse for it, right? So whether it's like you're busy with all these classes, you got to make sure I'm doing one leak code a day. I'm applying to like 20 places a day. I'm trying to do one or two, three cold messages a day. You got to just be consistent with it. It's like going to the gym. If and eventually, along with that, it's not just like you're just brute force applying, not practicing, right? Because you could just be doing leak code and not putting any effort, but you're saying I'm doing one leak code a day. So this is a fine balance between quantity and quality, right? You're doing the quantity, you're putting in the effort, but at the same time, you're trying to improve the quality of what you're doing, right? Am I doing cold messages the right way? Am I doing leak code the right way? Am I just blindly doing problems, not really learning from my mistakes, learning the problems, right? So that's that approach there. I think if you put these together, again, consistency, getting that quality in there, finding those connections properly, and just hope for the best. Keep trying. Knowing that there's always going to be opportunities out there. I think that everyone is really easy to jump to say like economy is bad, jobs not hiring, right? There's always going to be jobs. It's unpredictable, right? We go through changes and the period of time. It's always going to be unpredictable. But if you do your part, you follow the formula, you follow these steps. I think you're bound to at least make some sort of success and get something. So
Sounds great. I guess final question of this review here. I think this is obvious. Do you think the accelerator was worth it? Looking back, 1 year, you spent the full 14 months of the program after that 2 month period with a year of
yeah,
support afterwards. Did you think that investment was worth it and did it pay off in the end?
yeah, I think the accelerator was definitely a worthy investment on my part. I think that I was one of the first, as you mentioned, the first person in the program. We kind of started out in the beginning, and it really helped me shift my paradigm, or I guess my approach from applying to this year to next year. Right, and I think that the thing I really enjoyed about the accelerator is that you get you first of all you get all these connections to people that, for example, you have a big network of people. You're able to get those connections and make those in the industry. But also, I think the biggest thing is a lot of people don't know where to start when it comes to like this internship hunt, right? It's just like they see things on YouTube, they talk to other people, they try to do these things by themselves, right? And I think that oftentimes that's can waste a lot of time. Like for example, I will say, like for example, if someone really wanted to like really research and find these things, it'd probably take a long time. It'd be really slow, you waste a lot of time, and maybe you won't even go, you lose time in the cycle, right? But the nice thing about the accelerator is, like you mentioned now, and since you're growing it as well, there's more people there to help you. There's more other students there that you can talk to who are in the same boat as you, who are learning as well. And you have all this information in one area where if you have a question, you can ask someone like Aman, who's worked in the industry, who has experience. You can ask someone else who's also in the program, who might have worked at companies you were trying to apply to before. So having all that one place, having again that first-hand primary contact with somebody who's been in the industry, I think that's something I should have mentioned before. I was going to say is that having someone who's gone through these experiences before, I think it's very useful, right? Because if you're someone who doesn't have those connections to someone who maybe went through the same process as you, I think it's very difficult to make progress because you don't know where to start from, what mistakes to avoid, what things to look at. And having that sort of connection there is very useful. And I think that is a great thing to take advantage of. So I think overall, I really enjoyed the experience. And yeah, if someone else is trying to look to join, I would definitely suggest they check your program out.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for the good words. And yeah, I really appreciate it. You're our first person in the program, so I'm happy to see that all worked out in the end. Wanted to use this time just to get a quick update, like how everything's have gone, and talk about like your amazing success, which is great. And then if there's any advice I can offer regarding which offer to take, totally happy to offer that as well.
After my Amazon internship, I was able to get a return offer to come back. I just completed my Arista internship here in San Jose. This week's actually my last week, and I also got the verbal return offer from my manager. The formal process just involves me filling out an application, and they'll send the actual paper offer letter. But that would also be here in San Jose, and I'm pretty sure it'll be with the same team that I worked with. Just some context, I interned on the EC2 team at Amazon in Seattle, Washington. My return offer, I believe it's not an EC2 based on what the details I read. It's on Kubernetes and it's under a different manager. So that's a bit different, but that's going to be also in Seattle, Washington.
Well, I guess we have the numbers here, right? Like Amazon 182K total, Arista 144K total. First of all, congrats, man. Like I remember where you were. I think we started working together 2 years ago. You were one of my first clients, so I want to say congrats. Like you worked really hard over the past couple of years, in your internships and everything. So I'm really happy to see the success.
And a lot of that, was several of the things that you've been coaching about would, includes like consistent leak code practice, finding referrals as your open gateways into these companies, and then taking those two, especially these two pieces of information, just being consistent on that. I think that was really crucial in helping me land that Amazon role. It's funny because I made a Reddit post about it last night too, and it kind of blew up. It has like 100 comments
Oh,
on it.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
For me, like my pros and cons are this, right? It's like Amazon, obviously, like it's my parents say too, it has the brand name, right? It's in Seattle. It's like purely like everything I'll make is all gonna go to savings. It's like giant signing bonus, right? For Arista, like obviously like the pay is much less and it's is San Jose. The thing is Arista's like based on like my experience, it's a bit more chill, like everyone's super nice, the work-life balance isn't crazy. You know, the longevity I also see like it's somewhere we could stick around for a while. That's kind of where I see these two places. I guess I'm just divided.
I would
So
wait till you have the letter in your hand.
yeah.
Then I would use Amazon to negotiate Arista up. See if you can get at least 10 or 20K more. I'm guessing you probably can at least. And
Uh-huh.
then probably just take Arista because it'll be
Yeah.
closer to Amazon. That's the play I think you should do.
If I map it out this way, like worst case, they say like, hey, we're not going to negotiate. Then at that
Mhm.
point, what do you think I should consider
Well,
now?
at that point, you have to ask yourself, like, what do you
Mhm.
want long term? Like,
Okay.
I would sit there and think, like, what do you want your life to be like in the next 3 to 5 years?
It's just like you gotta decide
Nice.
what you want. You gotta make sure check your long-term goals, have kind of
Yeah.
reality check.
All right. One more time. Congrats. Maybe I'll see you at Google next year and then we can do another one.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. All right. Have a good one,
Awesome.
man. Best of
All
luck
right.
and enjoy your full-time role.